our webpage, xtolmag.com. So again, here's your weather headlines. We start to dig into the forecast. Sunny and mild today. Might get a couple sprinkles tomorrow. Not a big deal. And some extra clouds out there. 70 Saturday. That'll be our warmest day of the extended outlook. And then some cooler 50s on Sunday. Looks like we'll start to bring in a rain chance early next week and again late next week. We'll talk more about it here in just a second. Thanksgiving in just 2 weeks. It is Thursday today. So a couple Thursdays from now. Earliest sunsets in 19 days. So as we head into early December, right around December 2nd is when we have a 5:22 p.m. sunset. Christmas in just 42 days. And springtime, 126 days. Here's your weather history. 1933, the first great dust storm of the Dust Bowl era in the 1930s occurred. The storm, this is what's crazy. The storm spread from Montana on the 12th to the Ohio Valley here, and then to the Atlantic seaboard on the 13th, resulting in a black rain over New York and a brown snow in Vermont. Dust reduced the visibility to a half mile in Tennessee and a 3/4 of a mile at Bowman Field in Louisville. 1933. 1946, a GE scientist, this is interesting, Vincent Schaefer, unloaded dry ice into a cloud over western Massachusetts, which subsequently produced snowfall. This experiment served as a basis for further studies to modify weather. So now they use some different things to put into clouds and try to produce rain in dry areas. They're not really creating weather. They're trying to produce out of a cloud that's already there and see if we can produce a little extra rain in some dry areas. So, and then they tried to, Storm Fury was a program where they tried to see if they could weaken hurricanes by doing this dry ice experiment too, which it just never worked. That was kind of interesting. And in 1976, an EF3 tornado struck Australia on the Pacific coast. The tornado lifted a car 20 feet off the ground and threw it 300 feet into a ditch, unfortunately killing the two occupants. 1981, a powerful cyclone brought high winds to Washington and Oregon. Cyclone, which formed about 1,000 miles west of San Francisco, intensified rapidly to approach Oregon coast with a very low pressure. The wind traced from the Whiskey Run turbine about 12 miles south of Coos Bay in Oregon showed peak gusts of 97 miles per hour, 50 feet off the ground. 1997, a winter storm brings 4 to 6 inches of snowfall in a 50-mile wide swath centered on Interstate 70 between Terre Haute and Indianapolis on the 13th to the 14th. And in 2019, 6 years ago, Louisville sets a record low temperature of 16 degrees. And here's your stupid weather jokes of the day. What type of weather tastes the best? Of course, a blizzard, a good Dairy Queen blizzard. You can't beat that. What kind of shoes do frogs wear? Open-toed. Here's the roofer joke. My roofer gave me a roof for free. He said it's on the house. Ba-doom-ch. What do rabbits need after the rain? A hair dryer. H-A-R-E, hair dryer. It's punny stuff. Today's forecast for your Thursday, November the 12th. 62 degrees today, mostly sunny, mild, just a very light breeze from the west at about 5 miles per hour. Sunset at 5:31. I'll show you why our winds are so light and it's so peaceful today here in just a second. And tonight's going to be quiet here for us. We're looking at a low of 40 degrees, maybe a few clouds passing through, light southeast breeze. And Tina Sanders with a good morning. Loving the weather today for sure. And thank you, Beverly Haggis. Loving the weather jokes. And so quiet tonight, a little bit chilly out there. And then for your Friday, tomorrow, November the 14th, 40 out the door. Mostly cloudy, we'll call it. We've got this little disturbance. I'm going to give it a 20% chance of a sprinkle or a little bit of a light rain shower, especially late morning, early afternoon. But a lot of the area will be dry tomorrow. Lily and Lasley, thanks so much. We'll try to keep them coming. Our normal high is 58, so we're about 6 degrees above normal tomorrow, and we'll keep that above normal trend going as we head into Saturday with 73 degrees. That's going to be about 15 degrees above normal for Saturday. Now, a cold front will move in overnight Saturday, give us maybe a light rain chance as many of us are sleeping, and then cooler upper 50s on Sunday. But it looks like the daytimes are going to be dry this weekend, so plenty of good weather to get outside, blow off some leaves, winterize some things, maybe do something fun as well. So then Monday, so most of the models are dry through the daytime Monday, late Monday and into Tuesday, our rain chance starting to ramp up a bit. And then a larger storm system may come in Thursday, Friday timeframe late next week with maybe some thunderstorms, and that could be a stronger storm system. And if you're on here earlier, I showed that with the European weather model, and we'll talk more about that again around 10:20 as we bring up that weather model data. All right, let me remove this. And again, looking at some of the current conditions across the area, the big old radar and satellite across the United States, active weather out over the West Coast. Eventually, that energy will make it our area. But as you look here over the Ohio Valley and over our region, this is the center of high pressure. So the air flows out of that. So we got just a very light breeze today. And that's also keeping us high and dry with plenty of sunshine. There's just, if you look real closely, some high wispy clouds, some high level moisture that'll be drifting through with that sunshine out there for today. But again, coast to coast and border to border, pretty quiet conditions overall over the United States. And again, just kind of taking it easy. We've got some easygoing weather here for the rest of this week. And it's really next week, probably the next 2 weeks, starting next week, the rest of November, we might have a system every few days, a busier weather pattern and a stormier weather pattern for the rest of this month. And that might transition us to a colder December. Yeah, December is usually colder. We know that. But maybe colder than normal, we'll say. Maybe a head start to the winter season in December. We'll see about that. There's a lot of data out there that suggests kind of a weather pattern flip for us next month, which isn't too far away. We're now to almost the middle of the month here. If you're still in here at 10:18, thanks for joining us. Here's Big Happy giving us a jolt of caffeine this morning. Hope you guys are off to a good start as well on this Thursday. Let's start to bring up the weather model data here this morning. And I'm going to start off with one last current condition, and that's just a look at the current temperatures across the United States. And still pretty cool air. You can see a lot of blue on the map. This has winds. And it's got these little lines or fronts. And so as we zoom in here a little bit closer, turn off the animation. Temperatures in the 40s. Yeah, it's on the cool side, but we'll get up into the low 60s later this afternoon, and the milder air hugging the Gulf Coast and the southeast, but still coolish across much of the United States. Now bringing in the, I'm going to bring up the NAM weather model, the NAM 3-kilometer. These are high-resolution models. And this is going to just show us our small rain chance tomorrow. So I'm going to jump ahead to 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Jump it ahead because there's nothing to show today other than a clear sky. Now you got to have to maybe get out your binoculars here. There's a little bit of green heading towards the Indiana and Illinois state line. This is 7 a.m. I'm going to jump ahead to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it shows, if you look closely, there's a little bit of green there heading towards Bedford, Indiana. This is around 10 a.m. And then I'm going to go to noon tomorrow. And you're just going to show, it's just basically, I would say, again, maybe a cloud produces a sprinkle tomorrow over southern Indiana, Kentucky looking drier. And a lot of area is going to be dry tomorrow. But I just want to show you that I got a 20% chance of a sprinkle tomorrow here. So it's hard to see, but there's just little blips of green. It's a very weak disturbance moving through the area for our Friday. It will bring in some extra clouds and that tiny sprinkle chance. But that's it. So no big deal with that. Now I'm going to jump ahead with the GFS weather model. And I'm going to jump ahead to the 15th, the night of the 15th. Because that is when we'll have a front move into the area. There's not much with it. There's just about a temperature drop. Notice just a little green off to the east. This is at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's why I put no rain chance on the weekend, because if we get this small rain chance, it's during the overnight period. So no big deal with that. There you can see most of that rain's off to the east anyway. This is 7 a.m. on Sunday. And then Sunday just ends up a little bit cooler. We're in the lower 70s for Saturday. And then behind this front, we've got a little bit of a temperature drop to the the 50s and low 60s across the region. But that is just getting us back to normal. If you really want to warm up, look at that. It still feels like summer down in Texas. Southern Arkansas is pretty warm, but not for us. We're on the cool side. All right, let me change this back over into the temperature map, or the rain map here. So now we're going into this is the 16th. I'm going to jump ahead to the 17th afternoon, which is Monday. It is showing a little bit of a rain chance late Monday here. The Euro and the Canadian hold this rain back a little bit longer to Monday evening. And a good morning to John Fox. Good morning, sir. Thanks for popping in. Now, this is going into the 7 p.m. on Monday. And as we head into Tuesday morning, notice that rain chance ramping up here for us. And the GFS and the Euro both show this. In fact, let me go ahead and bring it. So this is the GFS. Let me bring up the European weather model. And I'm going to back this up to, that is Tuesday right there. If you look closely, you can see some of that rain moving through our area. But it's late next week that big guy could be moving in Thursday, Friday timeframe, late next week. And then notice another storm system. So this is why I'm saying starting next week, we could start to be in a storm highway, so to speak, with a storm rolling through maybe every 2 or 3 days. And some of these could be some stronger storms as well, especially that one right there. That's next Thursday. And again, that's at weather.cod.edu. Anybody can look at these weather models for free, by the way. And so we're heading back here to the GFS weather model next Tuesday. There's that rain chance. I'm going to back up our view and look at late next week. So I'm going to jump ahead to Wednesday the 19th. So storm system starting to creep in from the west. You can see that right there. Notice it starts to gain strength out to our west. This is going into Thursday, the 20th. This is Thursday afternoon, and then going into Thursday evening. We'll just need to keep an eye on this one. This could be kind of a windy system. Let me see if we've got wind gusts on here. I think we do, yeah. So there you can see some of the winds with this system. Looking pretty strong. This is a week from now, next Thursday evening. Look at these wind gusts. So these could be the potential for some gusty thunderstorms around this time next week, maybe next Thursday, Friday. That's around November 20th, 21st timeframe. Just something to keep in the back of our mind, and we'll keep fine-tuning this forecast as we get closer. But again, your confidence goes up that we're going to get into a busier weather pattern, a more active weather pattern, when not only do you see the GFS lock in onto this, but also the European weather model. But so that would definitely probably knock the rest of the leaves off of the trees if we get some winds like that. So that is a gusty system right there, a potent low-pressure system, and it's got the power of the jet stream to work with it as well. So there's going to be strong winds aloft. That shows 100-mile-per-hour winds right there. And I'm kind of interested in the low-level jet at the 850 millibar level. This is 5,000 feet above. So this storm has a lot of wind energy. This is 5,000 feet up, not that high up. 70-mile-per-hour winds. So this setup would give us the potential for some damaging winds late next week, next Thursday, Friday. Gonna keep an eye on it here. And then as far as the Cape, the cat just bumped the camera. What are you doing, Elvira? So the Cape isn't crazy. This time of the year, we often get low Cape, which is low fuel for the storms, but high wind shear, a lot of wind energy. So this can give us, hopefully you don't get convection or thunderstorms, because then you can tie into that wind energy and get a better chance of straight line wind damage. Otherwise, if it's too sheared, what happens is now you might get some thunderstorms, but you kind of want your thunderstorms to be tilted a little bit like that. Then you've got a constant inflow of fuel and outflow. If it's like this in the summertime, the storms will pop up and then wash themselves out. They're not severe. Springtime, especially, you'll get a nice perfect tilt. You got a nice balance between a healthy amount of fuel, CAPE, convective available potential energy, and also wind energy, wind shear. You get that perfect combo, you get outbreaks of severe weather. With this system, it's overly sheared, so the storms are so far tilted over that the storms aren't very strong, but it can still be pretty gusty. And so kind of a gusty rain shower event can still get some isolated wind damage with these systems if they're strong enough. So again, this is something we'll watch for next Thursday, Friday. Weather pattern ramping up as far as storm systems. These are coming in from the Pacific, so I'm not seeing any polar air with this, not looking at any snow chances. I think it's going to be December when we got a 2-week, probably stormier weather pattern to get through, and then we might start to switch into a colder weather pattern as we start off our December. So that's kind of what we're thinking here when we're looking at long range forecast. And since we just talked a lot about the long range, that has been on a limb. All right, so meaning we're going out on a limb. We'll see if it happens, but a lot of confidence that we'll see that possible stronger storm system late next week. So we'll see about that. I think that's about all I want to show here with the weather models. I don't think there's anything else very interesting with this. Nah, not precipitable water. Let me go back to, we could add up all the rain over the next 384 hours and just show you if we have a busier weather pattern, well, then you would think we're going to get a little bit wetter. With these storms kind of ramping up and originating, I wouldn't say originating, I would say ramping up off to our southwest over Missouri and Oklahoma. And so this is adding up all the way through November 29th. So basically a couple weeks out, all of the rainfall total, okay? So they're looking at over the next couple of weeks, maybe 5-6 inches of rain over there over Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And then as we zoom into our region, this is showing the potential of anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches of rain.